I don't usually talk about things like this, but something has been happening to me, and I can't tell if I'm losing my mind or if it's real. Maybe telling the story out loud will help me make sense of it. It started a couple of months ago, when I moved into an old boarding house on Pine Street. One of those buildings that looks tired, like it's been standing for 100 years too long. The hallways were narrow, the wallpaper peeled like old skin. Every floorboard sagged and groaned under the slightest step, and the whole place smelled of dust, mildew, and cigarette smoke trapped deep inside the walls. But the rent was cheap, and I didn't care. I needed a place, any place fast. The first night was quiet, almost unnaturally quiet. No traffic, no neighbors, no TVs bleeding through the walls. Just silence. The second night, I heard it. Coughing. Not a little throat clear, not allergies. This was violent. Deep, wet, like someone's lungs were tearing themselves apart. It came from the apartment next door. And it didn't stop, hours of it echoing through the walls, so raw and ragged. It happened again the next night, and the next, always at midnight. I tried everything, earplugs, music. Nothing helped. By the end of the week, I snapped. At midnight, I stormed into the hallway and pounded on my neighbor's door. And there he was, an old man, frail, hunched over, his skin gray and paper-thin, his eyes watered from the effort of coughing. Each breath was a battle. "I can't find my medicine," he rasped. My anger vanished. I stepped inside. The air was damp and heavy, the smell of mold mixed with something else I couldn't place. His apartment was nearly empty, just a bed, a chair, and a handful of belongings. I found his medicine bottle under a chair leg and handed it to him. The coughing eased, little by little. He looked at me with an exhausted, grateful expression. That was how I met Edward. After that, I checked on him often. At first, out of guilt. Then, out of habit. I brought groceries, helped clean, listened to his stories. He had spent nearly his entire life at sea, carried from one horizon to the next. His hands were shaped by years of salt and rope. When his wife died young, the light seemed to leave with her, and he'd lived alone in the dimness ever since. His voice was weak, but his stories were heavy, like he'd been holding them in for years. And somehow, I felt like I was keeping him alive. Weeks passed like that. One morning, I noticed his sink leaking. The pipe dripped steadily into a rusted bucket. Edward waved it off. But I didn't want the place to smell worse than it already did, so I called the landlord's plumber. He came up the stairs with his toolbox. "Which unit?" he asked. "Apartment 4, I told him. "Old Mr. Edward's place." The plumber stopped. "Apartment 4's been empty for years," he said. Old Edward died in there back in '93. Tuberculosis. Nobody's lived there since. I laughed. I told him he was wrong, that I'd been visiting Edward every day. But when I turned back to apartment 4, everything in me went cold. The door looked different, older, peeling, paint, a tarnished brass number, a rusted doorknob, like it hadn't been touched in decades. I knocked, no answer. I rattled the knob. It didn't budge. Then, from behind the door, it started again. The coughing, only this time, louder, right on the other side. The plumber backed away, muttering he didn't get paid enough for this. I just stood there, frozen, heart pounding. The coughing turned violent. Choking, thrashing, like someone dying, right there behind the door. I ran. I don't even remember reaching my apartment. I locked the door and sat in the dark, shaking. That was 3 nights ago, and the coughing hasn't stopped. Every night, midnight sharp, it starts again. Only now, the sound isn't coming from the apartment next door anymore. It's in the hallway, getting closer, getting louder. Last night, I swear, it was just outside my door. And tonight, I can feel it on the other side of the door. And I don't think the lock is going to keep it out.